One practice or framework that we offer folks for shared language around different relationships to power in a conflict is this 4 archetypes framework. So this is a framework that a teacher of mine, Gitanjali Hemp, offered. And what it articulates are 4 common relationships to power that we experience in conflicts and in equity issues. And the sort of genius of this framework is none of these like ways of relating to power is any better or worse than the other. It's just helpful to know where you're at in the map at any given time and to not get stuck in any place in particular, and to know what practices will help you move through that place. I'm going to just try to like give you an example and move through the 4 so you have a sense, but it's in our workbook and you can learn more there. The first one, victim, it's that experience of kind of like overwhelm. Like, so maybe someone is trying to introduce some more equity into the purpose of your organization. And folks who have entrenched power may go through an experience of overwhelm, like, this means I'm going to have to do things differently, or I'm, like the way I thought we would be is not the case anymore. And that experience of victim in that case is not necessarily like an accurate one because that person still has a lot of power. There are some experiences of victim that are actually like truly real. But regardless, that person is in that experience. And it's useful to know that when you're encountering someone in the victim archetype, they're not going to really be able to make proactive steps towards their like the highest vision of the group. They just need some support at that moment. So the key practice for that space is like getting resourced, getting support, caucusing with folks who are like you to move through it if you have more positional power than you realize in that moment. The warrior archetype, like this archetype might have been embodied by the people who were like, we need to bring more equity into our core purpose work. Like enough Band-Aid solutions. This is the archetype, the relationship to power that's like, I have dignity and I deserve to have my needs met. And it's both beautiful. And then if you get stuck there, everything kind of becomes a battle. So it's good to know like, okay, in my group, there's this person's in victim, this person's in the warrior archetype. And then there's the leader healer archetype, which is the sort of pros and cons of any leader is embodied in this archetype, which is like, this is the guy that's like used to maybe being in a slightly more resource space, is used to like having access to some power. And then the pitfall of getting stuck here is like, they don't want to then deal with the demands of the victim and the warrior archetype. They kind of put people at arm's length. And so the medicine of like how to embody this in the best way is to turn back towards these other folks in these different relationships to power and harvest what need that they're holding and sort of articulating in their different archetypes. And finally, the 4th archetype is the creator archetype, which is like this ultimate state of creativity and possibility that comes from it, like weaving through all of these different experiences and creates possibility where there wasn't before. And you do that by turning towards the wisdom of each of them. So that's a little bit of an overview of that framework. And this is useful in interpersonal conflict because oftentimes conflict is happening because people are at different ones of these, right? So just to know which one you're at, which practices are useful for it, and how to move through those places.